going inside the issues of our community. This is Local 12 Newsmakers.
Good morning and welcome to Local 12 Newsmakers. Caring for the needs of senior citizens has many dimensions. It poses practical, psychological, and financial challenges for those who are gradually losing their ability to live independently. For their children, especially those who have moved away from their parents, it often poses agonizing choices and difficult accommodations, turning them into what has been referred to as the sandwich generation. And for state and federal governments, the issue of caring for the elderly, especially those without significant financial resources, is a staggering Medicaid budget challenge. In Ohio, Republican legislators introduced Senate Bill 5 that is designed to increase state support for assisted living and home care and shift some of the support that now goes to nursing home costs. The financial implications are significant. The monthly cost to Medicaid in Ohio for a person in a nursing home setting averages $4,800, while the cost of Passport, the most popular in-home program, is about $1,109. That translates to a difference of about $161 a day in nursing homes versus $37 in home care. Compared to other states, Ohio ranks 49th, above only Mississippi, in its support of in-home care. I am joined this morning by Arlene de Silva, the Chief Operating Officer of the Council on Aging of Southwestern Ohio, and Jim Raussen, the Ohio State Representative from the 28th District, centered in Springdale. Mr. Raussen is a member of the Health Committee and the chair of the Healthcare Access and Affordability Committee. Jim, welcome back to Newsmakers. Arlene, welcome to Newsmakers. We're talking about, and there's lots of data here, and we're going to take a look at a lot of data, but besides all the numbers and the costs, are there other things from your perspective that's important about making it possible for people to stay in their homes longer?
I think the most important thing for us, the Council on Aging has served the older population for 35 years. And what we do is give them choice, basically to remain independent in their homes. Everyone likes staying at home. So it's again giving that cost-effective alternative to people.
Jim, as you are on these two committees, Health and Healthcare Access, which I'm not quite sure what the real difference is, but that doesn't make any difference. Is this an important topic right now? I know this bill has been introduced. Is there a real push around this topic? Are people trying to figure this one out?
It is. It's growing in numbers, and it's reason it's growing in numbers is you have a couple factors coming into play. First, the population that we're talking about is the fastest growing population in the state right now. Elderly care, the baby boomers are getting ready to retire. So we're seeing staggering numbers across the board in that category. Secondly, you are seeing a new set of coalition of different groups of elderly care coming together. We have those groups coming together and looking at alternatives. And I think people are starting to ask questions, family members of people who are involved in elderly care issues, of what other alternatives are there out there? Because what is it most people want to do? Most people would like to, as they get older, like to stay in a surrounding that they're comfortable with and that they're familiar with. And what can we do? Is there a way to do it that is provides care and services and at the same time may be fiscally responsible or efficient more so than other options that are out there?
In fact, let's take a look at how Ohio sort of compares on a pie chart that we have to other states in terms of the amount of people having options to stay in their home. On the one end, you've got Oregon, where you've got heavy funding for, which is the light blue on your right. On the left, you have the national averages. And then you see Ohio, and as I said before, we're 49th. Now, this has all kinds, Jim, of implications for Medicaid spending, which is a huge part of the state budget. I mean, just on a budgetary level, would it be good to pull down and find a way to control those costs?
Well, yes. The short answer to that is yes. Medicaid is 27% of the state budget. 27%. No other single item comes close to that number. You'd have to add all education numbers
That's more
combined.
than education.
primary and secondary in education and higher education. You'd have to add all education dollars together before you would even come close to Medicaid numbers. And it's growing, 9.5% increases on average over the past 4 or 5 years. Those numbers aren't slowing down from what we see. What we have to see in comparison to the pie chart, though, is that the disadvantage Ohio has over probably an Oregon state is that we're older and poorer traditionally than some of those other states that are out there. And when you have older and poorer, the age, blind, and disabled population is the large bulk of the piece of the Medicaid budget. So there are issues on passport and alternative care that are out there which are beneficial, but we also have a sicker population on average than the Oregon case or other states out there.
Arlene, let me be clear on this, or let me get clear on this. What, those of organizations like yours that are pushing for more in-home, what are you saying about the future of nursing home beds and availability? Because as Jim pointed out, baby boomers, the baby boom generation has hit 60 this year, so it's coming close. What are you saying about the long term with nursing homes?
Dan, if you look at the growth and the passport program has grown so much. And at the same time, we have seen the occupancy rates at nursing homes going down. So I think just looking at that alone, you see that speaks for itself.
That people are choosing in-home if they can.
That's the preferred choice. Mm-hmm. If you look at the AARP study, 90% of the people, the older population, wants to remain in their homes. So if you look at occupancy going down in nursing homes, home care, that's the demand. This is what the people are saying. The people have spoken, and that would be the natural to go there.
You would hear this, Dan, is that in this world or area of care, it's called continuum of care is the phrase that's often used. Okay. And now the other choices that are out there is you have adult daycare services, which are growing. Senior Link of Tri-Health has an advanced, almost like a Passport Plus type program.
Yes.
There's
the PACE program.
You're right, the PACE program, independent living, assisted living, and then obviously long-term care in nursing homes. So we're seeing a continuum of care, and of course, the nursing homes still serve a very big and important purpose because they have the ability to serve the highest level of care, which we still have a need for. Right. So as long as those individuals don't have the need of the highest level of care and they want to do an alternative that's more affordable and allows more options, we just need to communicate the message out there, because what you can't do, or we can't do as a state, is you can't build it and then let them come later. The demand has to be there and the need has to be there, because we've seen too many times where a program emerges and no one understands it, knows how to get to it, and those dollars are wasted.
There's a comparative chart that Council on Aging provided me. Let's take a look in terms of the growth of popularity. If you look here, this is the Passport and Medicaid nursing homes. This is about cost. And Arlene was saying that more and more people are choosing to stay in their homes, but the other thing is the ability to control the cost of that Passport line is much greater than the ability to control that Medicaid nursing home line. So, and that's what Jim was talking about. So you've got this divergence going on, and it's really pretty dramatic.
Yes, and to add to that, we've got the Passport program. Along with it, we have the elderly services programs that are levy funded.
Locally
levy funded, and that now in Passport it's about $1,100 a month to
And when we're talking Passport,
someone.
we're talking about a state funded.
Correct.
It's a Medicaid waiver program.
Okay.
Right.
And I'm talking about something that's a local property tax based, which is even the cost is even lower.
Okay.
We're talking about maybe $380 a month.
Jim, let's talk about the practical things from the Columbus perspective. This bill has been introduced in the Senate. What's the path here? What do you think is going to happen out there?
Well, what we don't want to happen is this. Sometimes when this issue has come up in the past, it becomes us versus them. And that often happens between the nursing home side and the other side. And I think it's in everyone's best interest not to have that discussion framed that way, that it has to be more of the continuum of care argument.
Yes.
And what ways can we be creative to make sure we allow more opportunities with what Arlene's trying to say. So, but I think you're going to see this more and more continue on. And I like the idea of using senior options as well out there on local levies.
Yes.
You know, letting local levies have, like we did with MRDD. If you recall, in the MRDD community a couple years ago, they decided to tie down with Medicaid, and so now a third of their options have funding comes from Medicaid.
Absolutely.
So there are opportunities to expand beyond just the Senate
Is that
bill as we're talking
local
about.
funding option, is that happening all over the state, or is that something that Hamilton County and is that a pattern all over the state?
We have, because the council serves a 5-county area,
Right.
the region, all 5 of our counties have levy-based programs. Throughout the state, they do have levy-based senior services, but not very many. I think South.
So this would be something you would have to
too.
encourage from a statewide point of view.
That's right. That's right.
Jim, what do you think the likelihood of Senate Bill 5 actually making it through?
I think it looks pretty good. There are going to be some of the initial meetings have already occurred, and I think you're going to see some really good hearings on this subject because of the momentum by local groups and agencies, by parents and families out there. And I think you're going to see a good likelihood of most, if not all, of the bill passing this General Assembly.
And what is an organization like yours doing to try to make that happen?
There's advocacy at all levels. There's advocacy at the state level. We're doing a lot. We're getting not only the consumers, but their families involved, because this touches not only the older adults, but a lot to do with caregivers.
Right. Well, I just went through. My mother-in-law lived with us for 5 years, and we have seen this on a personal level. I only have about 30 seconds left. Jim, is there open opposition to this? I know you don't want to have it framed that way.
I think you will. There will be concerns by both the profit and nonprofit section of the nursing homes to say, will it impede our way of doing business?
Okay. So we'll have to watch that whole thing sort of develop and structure.
Right.
Now, for information about this issue and other issues concerning seniors, you can contact the Council on Aging of Southwestern Ohio through their website at www.help4seniors, that's 4 seniors, or call them at 513-721-7670. Thank you for being here this morning, and stay tuned. After the break, 2 of the early leaders of the Cincinnati Human Relations Commission reflect on its history and role. Very good. Welcome back. As hundreds of thousands of African Americans moved to northern cities in search of greater opportunity in the early 20th century, racial tensions increased. During World War II, black labor was needed in factories, and war rhetoric about freedom and democracy reverberated at home, highlighting the social tensions in American life. In 1943, Cincinnati City Council responded by creating the Mayor's Friendly Relations Committee. 2 decades later, in the rising tide of racial tensions that accompanied the Civil Rights Movement, that organization transformed itself into the Cincinnati Human Relations Committee. Though a private organization, the CHRC remains the city's principal point of contact between City Hall and the changing community. And this morning, I am joined here by 2 of the early members of the CHRC. The very first chairman, Judge Arthur Spiegel, who is now a judge on the 6th District Court of the United States, and in 1965 was the chair for the first couple of years, and William Mallory, a former member of the Ohio House of Representatives and a frequent guest on this show, who has been close to every organization like this over the years in Cincinnati. Welcome to Newsmakers. Judge, welcome to Newsmakers.
Can I
Mr.
correct
Mallory.
something you said?
You can always correct something I said.
I'm a United States District Judge, a senior United States District Judge for the Southern District of Ohio. The 6th District is
is it the appeals
the 6th
court?
Circuit is a appellate circuit court for the federal courts.
I tried to promote you, but you know.
Well, let me correct one thing.
Okay.
I was never a member of the Cincinnati Human Relations Commission,
Right.
but I was one of those who advocated and for it to be formed.
And that's why I said you were close to this.
And I've been close to it for about 40 years.
Right. Back in 1965, when this is formed, it grows out of transforms from the Mayor's Friendly Relations Committee to the CHRC. What was the mood in the city when you took the responsibility as that chair?
Well, the mood was considerably different from what it is today. Back then, there were a number of civil rights groups, Congress on Racial Equality, NAACP, the Catholic Interracial Council, the Jewish Community Relations Committee, a number of Southern Leadership Conference, any number of organizations which are advocating for the rights of folks who were discriminated against in one way or another. And those organizations felt that the Marriage Friendly Relations Committee, as it had been created originally, had sort of outlived its usefulness, and we needed a civil rights organization similar to that in Philadelphia and in Detroit. And so my task when I was appointed by the mayor to be chairman of the last chairman of the Marriage Friendly Relations Committee in 1965 was to get it reorganized into the Cincinnati Human Relations Commission. And it's patterned after a modern civil rights organization back in 1965.
And Mr. Mallory, the goal there in 1965, and this is when you're emerging into the political scene as well, part of that civil rights movement, wanted that commission to be more aggressive rather than the more laid-back Friendly Relations Committee.
That's correct. There was a meeting held at Parktown Cooperative Homes on a Saturday, and the participants were Joe Lionwall, who was then chairman of the Mayor's Friendly Relations Committee, Harry T. Martin, who was head of the Citizens Committee on Youth, and also Eugene Sparrow, who was a director of the program. We felt that it was not effective, and we wanted to pattern it after the Detroit Commission, and we wanted subpoena powers. We really wanted subpoena powers so that it had some teeth in it.
So you could subpoena both people to come and
testify
and also for documents, right?
Right.
Right, okay.
However, I don't, after we met, I can only surmise this. Joe Lionwall apparently went back and started talking to some other people, and I think we were putting pressure on this man here, but we didn't know it.
Well,
I don't know.
back then, subpoena power was very important, but city council would not give it to us. They thought it required a change in the charter to provide it, or in order to accomplish it would require a vote, I think, of 7 of 9, 2/3 of the council, and questionable whether the council would grant that to an independent agency. So
yeah, let's make this clear. This is not, it's never been a government agency. This is a not-for-profit.
A not-for-profit corporation has been under contract to the city since, well, way before. It was under contract, the Mayor's Committee was under contract to the city. All we did was reform the Mayor's Committee into the Cincinnati Human Relations Commission.
Before we get off of the subpoena power, I mean, one of the things I noted when I was doing research for this is the city of Dayton gave its parallel organization subpoena power. So the fact that you didn't have subpoena power, did that really hurt your ability to accomplish your mission?
I don't think so. I think people respected what we were trying to do, and we didn't worry about subpoena power. We just went ahead and did it. Okay. The first big battle before council would agree, the city administration was opposed to what we wanted to do because under the charter that we'd created for the CHRC, we wanted to investigate discrimination in city employment. And they didn't like that, particularly the Civil Service Commission. So it came down to a battle in the city council as to whether or not the Cincinnati Human Relations Commission, when it was created, would have that power. And the council agreed that we should. And so we took off and we not only investigated that, but there was discrimination well, the banks didn't have any black employees in those days. Department stores had few, if any, and some other private major organizations in Cincinnati. And we didn't need subpoena power to point the finger at them and get together with their executives, and things happened then.
You know, besides the civil rights environment that was around this. This was also a time in the mid-'60s. There were a lot of construction projects out there. The schools were in a construction mode. This convention center was about to be built. And you know, today, just a couple of weeks ago, I had Stephen Love on here to talk about minority contracting for minority-owned businesses with the banks. But back then, it was just getting jobs, getting union jobs, right? I mean, there was sit-ins at construction sites?
Well, there was picketing at the convention center, which was built in 1967. I think Jimmy Vinegar led a group to picket there. But I want to point something else out. Although we didn't get subpoena power, you need to look at the Cincinnati Human Relations Commission as almost as though it's the Geneva, Switzerland of this city, where people who have conflict can go and resolve it. There have been many cases and incidents that happened in this city that a lot of people don't know about that could have had this city in flames. But people trusted the people who worked at the Cincinnati Human Relations Commission, and they were able to resolve their conflict. Let me give you one example. We had problems with the blacks and whites from over the Rhine and the West End. Ernie Manette was head of the Appalachian Council up there, and I was president of the West End Community Council. Where did we go to resolve that problem? We went to the Cincinnati Human Relations Commission, and that was resolved. So,
You know how it was resolved?
Now,
Can I interrupt?
sure.
yeah,
The mayor and the council agreed that they would take no more property east of the right-of-way for I-75. What the city had been doing was condemning property for west of I-75 for the Reds, for Crosley Fields, to provide more parking. And the people over there were very upset. So the agreement was they would take no more, and they didn't. And that was really the beginning of the West End Task Force and the West End Community Council.
which I organized.
Which you're key. Yeah,
I organized
you're
it.
absolutely key to.
But what I was really talking about, those problems between youth. Youth, black youth and white youth. And they were at each other's throats. And that's it. So the Cincinnati Human Relations Commission was involved in a lot of different kinds of activities. Other than that, a lot of things were spun off from there. Protection for battered women. They were the first. We had a rumor controlled crisis center, so they could deal with rumors that might be circulated, which could cause problems in this city.
You know, and there's a million things I could talk to the two of you about, but I'm so aware of time here.
Okay.
Back in the early part of this, and you've hinted at this before with Ernie Manette, but a lot of the focus was on African Americans and Appalachians.
That's right.
Today, that mix is a little different.
Yes,
because
it
we
is.
have a lot of Hispanic immigrants. We have a lot of
Exactly.
other. But let me ask a general question, because I know we're running short on time. You did all of this work 40 years ago, setting this up. How do you feel about the city and the CHRC? And I know you can't comment on specifics, but what's your feeling as we're moving forward with this? What's the role of the CHRC today?
CHRC should be the ombudsman for the city. It should be the place where people can come that have complaints or concerns and talk to the people on the commission, the staff. They have professionals who have been, when there have been hot situations in town, riots or threatened riots, they were there calming people down. They have the professional talent and the ability to resolve problems. And it should be the place where people can go in City Hall. It's a city organization for the benefit of the whole community. There are lots of privately funded, nonprofit organizations that have pieces of this responsibility, but the CHRC has a whole responsibility for the city as an ombudsman.
Bill, final comment?
I'm going to say one other thing. This city has not appreciated CHRC. There have been political attempts to get rid of it, to interfere in its operation. I don't think it's been properly funded in recent years, and I think that's a grave mistake. I think we ought to honor the dedication of this agency under attack politically on several occasions to put it out of business.
Well, let me say, I'd like to, if even in this little short interview, if it honors the two of you, not only for your role in creating CHRC, but all of the things you've done in this city, it's an honor for me to sit here with the two of you. So thank you very much for being here as we move in to Human Relations Month, in the month of March. For information about the ongoing programs of the Cincinnati Human Relations Committee, you can contact them at 513-352-3237 or check out their website, www.chrc.us. Thank you for making Newsmakers a part of your Sunday morning. If you're interested in the way the modern American city became what it is today, my guest next week in the second part of the program will be historian Josh Olson. Mr. Olson will be in town next Thursday to speak on the seminar in the city at the Cincinnati Museum Center about the influence of James Raussen, the person who created no interest down home loans, the covered mall, festival parks, and rediscovering the waterfronts as urban redevelopment tools. With all of the focus on the Banks project in Cincinnati, if you cannot hear his entire address on Thursday night, which is free at Union Terminal, be sure to watch the interview here next Sunday. Have a good week.